Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Expressions the Podcast, Season 2, Episode 20. And today we have a very special guest. We have a Canadian that is living in the United States, a maker of things, a photographer, a host, and a mom, Debbie DeBaermaeker.
Hi.
Hi, Debbie. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you tonight?
Excellent. I'm so happy that you could be here. I've been a fan of your work for some time, and I have some of your work that keeps people safe. So I know for our fans and listeners here, Debbie is a maker of things with. She uses a power tool with a needle and thread to make things. Mm-hmm. But before we jump into talking too much with Debbie, I want to see how my co-hosts are doing here tonight. Brian, how are you this evening?
I'm very excited. I've had an interesting day. I'm buying a car, which is a very big deal for me. My wife actually needs a new car to get to work every day. She drives about 45 minutes each way every day. So she's been driving this old 2009 car for 9 years or so. And it's a little long in the tooth. So we're finally making an upgrade. And you know how hard it is to find a car these days. I've been looking for months. And finally, it's like the stars are aligning and this really cool little vehicle's come along. And hopefully it'll work out. We'll find that out tomorrow. But as of now, the excitement is there. So, you know, my vocal diarrhea, I just had to say it.
Love it. I love
and
it.
Number two, I think it's really cool that you say she's a maker. Debbie is a maker of things and she's a mom. So yes, she's a maker of things, but she's also a maker of humans, which is like this perpetuating maker of things. So that's pretty awesome.
Right. That's right. It's like the ultimate craft, sort of.
The craft that keeps on giving.
Perfect. Perfect. And Ryan, how are you this evening?
Oh, you guys know me. I'm always doing well. Living the dream as always. I'm laughing at Brian, who every episode, it seems, he's got to come up with a great joke off air and then has to find a way to work it into the on air.
And I just come up with bad jokes while we're on air. So that just makes us a good pair.
Bad on air in general. So, I mean, all together, we're falling apart here, guys.
We're a free team. So it's good to have Debbie here to hold us all together tonight.
Exactly. That's why we have a guest.
Get to know Debbie and get to hear more about your story. So
yeah, absolutely. So Debbie, if you could just for I gave Brian and Ryan a little sort of tidbit into some of the things that you make, and if you could just give us a quick. So you've got a store on Facebook, which is what's the name of the Facebook store?
It's Debbie DeBaermaeker, maker of things, and my last name is spelled with a Maeker. So maker is Maeker of things, and so it's a play on words, of course, on my last name. And because I do all kinds of stuff, I couldn't narrow down what I make, so we got maker of things.
Awesome.
So
go ahead.
I was just going to say I started with quilts. Is how I started making. With the sewing machine. I started 13 years ago because my kid's going to turn 13 this year. Wow. And
Time
so
flies.
it really does.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I got started because I was actually doing pottery, and one of my friends got pregnant and said, "Do you want to do a class with me?" So I said, "Sure, why not?" Turns out I turned out to be pregnant too. So I did that class too.
Perfect. So that's cool. So, and that was pottery that you were doing at the time.
Yes.
Okay. So when you started, do you still do pottery?
No, I haven't done it since then.
Oh, okay. So pottery, and when you were first making things that I saw that caught my eye, you were making quilts.
Yes.
And now quilting is definitely it's a skill set that not many people have, that many people can do well. It's sort of one of those art forms. I think is it a passed on art form, or is there classes you can take in quilting? Or
you can definitely take classes in quilting. I actually had someone to my house last week who wanted to learn how to use her sewing machine, but you can still get classes. Like there's quilt shops all over, and they all offer classes, or at least know people who will offer classes. So I say even if you haven't done it as a kid, or your grandma hasn't done it, or your mom hasn't done it, it doesn't matter. None of my family was very crafty with a sewing machine, and I still went ahead and took classes and learned how to do it, and have gone from there. And it's gone, I don't know, I don't even have a count on how many quilts I've made.
I was just going to say, like, this is one of the few conversations I actually can talk about because I grew up in a quilting family. Yeah, my stepmom absolutely adored quilting. She took it to a level that I've never seen any. I'm assuming you might even be in the same boat where she had a full quilting room, and anytime you walked in there could be 6 quilts hanging up. She'd be working on 10 different things at once. The amount of different materials, and it was insane the amount of stuff that I saw in that room. And to Mark's point about is there classes or things like that, she always was doing these different events like quilting. I'd never realized until I was a kid, obviously growing up, seeing just how big that market is and how much of a community is in the quilting world. It's crazy.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun with quilting. I know this is audio, but I was showing my camera around because I have a room full of fabric and quilting supplies, and there's a quilt on my sewing machine that needs to be quilted, and I'm like, I'm here, yeah, I got my stuff and it's right here, and I've been working on it. It's basted and ready to go. It just needs to be quilted, and I got a mess, and it's so much fun and so much fabric, and it makes me happy.
It inspires you just looking around and seeing this stuff too, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, especially when I don't have to go to a quilt shop to, pull some fabric because I have a wide selection on my shelves.
Yeah.
Okay,
Awesome.
yeah, that's giving me flashbacks. That's giving me
Yep.
some flashbacks right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny. Right at the beginning of the pandemic, when Debbie started making masks, she started making masks for all of her friends and families, and and things. And she was sort of, people were asking. I know. I asked, and we did a Skype one night, and you were in front of all that fabric, and you were pulling fabrics, because for me at the time I wore a suit, so you were pulling fabrics that would like match my suit or something like that. And then you give me a couple of fun ones. I've got a Star Wars one and one with cameras on it that you made me.
Yep.
So that was really cool. And we're not talking, they're not just like a single fabric. They had filter pockets, and you had us, like my wife is measuring my face, and the metal, the wire piece in the nose so that you could pinch it on the nose. Like, it wasn't just like a quick mask. It was a very thought out, well built mask. And I still use them every day. So and they've lasted obviously this long. You just throw them in the laundry. So Brian has a question.
Yes, Brian.
Okay. Is there a mask that you can make that doesn't have the metal? Do you see this right here?
Yeah.
No.
Do you see this thing I got right here coming off my face? This massive thing called a nose.
Oh, I didn't even see that there.
This whole thing that I got right here.
Uh-huh.
By the end of a day, I mean, we all work retail here. By the end of a day, wearing 2 masks now, because this is my brain. I have basically, it looks like the front of my nose is pinched in like this. Oh, there goes Dixie. So by the end of a day, with the metal band and my nose looking like this, I come out looking like some sort of what are those guys on Star Trek, with the Worf and all those guys.
Oh,
yeah, you know what I'm saying. Klingon. I look like a Klingon. That's what it is. Anyway, is there like a way to make a mask? Like, I end up having to turn these things upside down, so the claw thing is up here for people with me that are nose challenged.
There are masks out there that do that. I have a friend who was making some of those because she's Asian and she doesn't have much of a nose bridge. So she was making them. And so, yes, there's patterns out there to make them without the nose piece in them.
I want to sidetrack for a quick second. Funny little thing. Our friend Navi, she, like, one of the first times she met me and she was working with me, she had to touch my nose because she's like, "You have cartilage up. That's hard." I'm like, "Yeah, what's wrong with you?" She's like, "I don't have a nose." I was like, I didn't even realize that before she said that. But yeah. It's funny. Because she's Asian. I just had to, clarify.
Yeah. I figured
Navi is going to
the
be
tangent.
on. Yeah, Navi will be a guest on. We actually tried to have her on to talk about NFTs and stuff like that, but that's still to come. Anyway, sorry.
Perfect. Yeah. So Debbie, how many masks did you make throughout the pandemic so far? Or I guess in 2020 you made.
I did it mostly between 2020 and February 2021. That's when everyone started to be able to get them online or buy them in stores. The supply was much stronger by February 2021, so I stopped then. So in that year, I made over 1,500 up, and I don't know if I made up to 2,000.
Wow.
And
All by hand.
No, with my sewing machine, not by
Oh.
hand. No, sewing machine, a power tool.
Power tool, the needle. Yeah.
Yeah. And with that, I also took only donations for the quilts or for the masks, and I donated to my local shelter home. No, not shelter home. The local it's called Helping Hands Clinic. It's where people go with without medical insurance and stuff, and they can go there to get medical care. I sent them some, and to our local food bank, I sent them the money that I made from them.
Nice job. Nice job.
Yeah.
And when Debbie sent me my care package of masks, we reciprocated by sending. What did we send you? Shreddies and Smarties.
Yes.
I think it was a full on Canadian.
Well, we hadn't been able to get back to Canada because of COVID,
Yeah.
so we needed some fixes.
Yeah. So.
Oh right, yeah, non-American things. Smarties. I always forget that.
Smartie Shreddies, and was there something else I sent you? I have Kit Kats or something, or Arrows. There was another chocolate bar, I think. Yeah.
The Kit Kats definitely are different down here.
Yeah.
Was that Ryan?
So maybe some Kinder Surprise. Apparently, those are illegal down in the
They
States.
are illegal. I would not ask them
What?
to send them. They are.
How is that
Yeah,
even?
they're illegal down there.
You cannot have food inside or a toy or an object inside food. And because Kinder eggs are a closed unit, that means the food is in or the toy is inside the food.
But they're hardly considered food. Really.
I know, but that's where they fit in. And like with the king cakes, they also sell the baby separately to put in the cake because they can't sell it with in the food.
The what?
Oh,
The
there you
what
go.
cake?
King
The
cake.
king cakes.
It's
It's a New Orleans thing,
Oh, cool.
or
Cool.
Mardi Gras and stuff, I think.
there
I
you
think
go.
it's time to just ask you about different foods now that might not be possibly illegal in the States.
We should do a whole show on
we
just
have a
that.
whole list. We could do a show just on that. We have a whole
Yeah.
list.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm sure there are things that when you come back to visit in Canada, by the time you get back down to your home in because you're in North Carolina, correct?
Yes, North Carolina.
So when you get back down there, I'm sure there are things that you're like, oh, I've missed this while I've been home in Canada, type of thing.
Well, we only go home for like 2 or 3 weeks at a time, so it's not quite enough time to miss it. But I think there'd be things I'd miss if I was home for like 6 months or something.
Yeah.
Ketchup potato chips.
I don't miss those.
Oh, okay. Well,
I didn't like them. I miss the all dressed chips.
They don't have all dressed either. What do
No.
they have? Just like nacho chips?
They tend to go for straight spicy, not savory. So
Excessively
they got
hot.
like jalapeno flavored and stuff, and I'm like, no, I want savory, not spicy.
Right.
There's a lot of when you're traveling through the States, I find when you go into like snack shops, there's a lot of everything is hot. It's like
Mhm.
all the flaming hot jalapeno,
Hmm.
habanero, all that. Like, I'm not sure if you guys could hear that.
No, I was going to say, you look very concerned for a minute there, Mark.
Dog with a treat ball, and she's rolling it back and forth behind me and
Oh, I see.
waiting for treats to drop out of it.
The way you just so slowly alluded to the side, I'm like, is somebody like coming at Mark right now? You look very concerned. Just
Well, if anybody that watched last week's show will laugh because up there was a spider, and I had watching him. He's moving, and I'm like, I'm not so much scared of spiders. What I was afraid of was that I would actually lose a visual on the spider because nobody's really afraid of seeing a spider. They're afraid they'll stop seeing the spider before.
That's true. Yeah.
I'm afraid of both. Just want to throw that on the record. I'm afraid of
Anyways, I
both.
managed to get him. I had to climb up on the desk and get him after the show. So
But you let him live. You put him outside and
No,
he walked.
he's in the house. He died.
All right. Fine.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
fair game if they're
I got
inside.
an email from PETA. Yeah.
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 I had a friend the same friend actually, who called me and had me come over to her house while she watched a spider so I could come over and kill it for her.
I'd be that friend. I'd
Yeah.
be that friend who would be like, hey, can you come over real quick?
I've got this eye on the spider. I can't stop looking at it. You need to come fix this.
Perfect.
My wife does that. From anywhere in the house, I have to go. Anyway.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
Sidetrack.
yeah, squirrel.
Or spider. All right, perfect. So some of the this is on Debbie. This is on your Facebook page,
Yes.
and so now this is something else. I thought this was like the coolest thing. So for the because we do video and audio, so this actually goes out on YouTube as
Okay,
well
good.
as Spotify. But for the viewers, they're going to see the picture. But for the audio people, could you explain what we're looking at here?
All right, so this is actually one of my booths that I have, and it's full of rope bowls that I have made. I started that in February 2021 when the masks demand went down. So these bowls are made out of 100% cotton rope and my sewing machine with a zigzag stitch. So that's the basic of those. Now, of course, there's different ones with different fabrics and different things that I've used to decorate them. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and they have the instant gratification of creativity because one of those bowls could take me. Well, some of them take me under an hour, some of them take me a little more than an hour, but a quilt can take me a day or multiple days to weeks. So these are fun and done things that I can make. And that's why I started selling them because I kept making them and couldn't just keep giving them away. So I started selling them, and that's what created my Facebook page and stuff. So I had a spot to put them.
You know, it's pretty good when you just have to start selling stuff because you just run out of space.
I did.
You know you love it when.
Yes. Yeah. I
And I
have
also-
I have 2 large totes of them in my car right now because I had a sale last week and I'm going to a sale this week.
Cool. I love how you said the instant gratification of creativity. I love that because
Yeah.
I mean, there's some things that are, you're in it for the long haul and it gets tiresome and you fall out of love of doing it. But when you have that instant gratification, you can just get that joy from creating something right there within an hour, as you say.
Yep.
That's something that more people will get into if they realize that, I think.
Mhm.
So I think that's great. You need that instant gratification, especially as a creator, because we're all over the place. I don't know about you, Debbie, but I'm doing 5 or 6 things at once at the end of the day. And if I'm not doing 5 or 6 things, I feel like I'm wasting the time. So for us to have that kind of ability to just try all these different things, I think as a creator, that's super powerful.
Yes, because I am drawn all over the place all day, every day. Even though I don't actually work, I am everywhere all over the place. So this is really nice to come downstairs at the end of the day and just sit and sew and then have something done.
Awesome.
Cool. And I love this one. It's very whimsical. It's like a teacup and saucer.
Yeah.
I just the patterns are neat, and I love the way that you've incorporated different types of rope into the pattern. Like the purple band across the middle is really
the purple
cool.
is made with a 1/2-inch strip of fabric that I
Okay.
wrapped around the beige colored rope that's there. And so
Okay.
all my rope comes on. I buy giant spools of this rope, and it's all neutral, 100% cotton. And so I get the colors in there because of using different color threads. Because if you look at that teacup picture, the base plate, like the saucer part, is kind of tinged purple because that's from using purple thread. And then that
Okay.
purple band is from wrapping fabric around it,
And is that wrapped around the rope or wrapped around the cup itself?
wrapped around the rope.
Okay.
And that's actually what takes the longest about making them is when I start wrapping them like that, because I literally hold it, flip it over, pull it out, flip it over, pull it out, flip it over so that it doesn't get tangled and stuff. So it can take a little while.
Very
Where
cool.
did
Yeah.
you first learn about doing these? Like, was this something you saw somebody do and thought, I should try that? Or did you come up with the idea?
I did not come up with the idea. So with quilting, there's a lot of events and things that happen. And one of these things that happens is called a shop hop. And you go from quilt shop to quilt shop and you just hop from shop to shop. And you go see what they are. You get a stamp and a passport, and then you can win prizes at the end. And so at one of these shops, which is actually just up the road from me, about half an hour away in Blowing Rock, is a store called Mountain Thread Company. And when I was stopped there at one of the shop hops a couple years ago, because I've had this for a while, they had kits because this is what they do. She's the one who's developed this rope and has a manufacturer here in North Carolina, and it's a 100% cotton braided rope, and she orders it, and I buy it from her now. And she had these kits available to make little bowls. And I was like, well, that's a cute idea. It's different than all the fabric I just bought at all these other shops. I'll buy a kit. And so then the kit sat on my shelf for a year or two before I actually pulled it out. But once I pulled it out, I didn't stop. So maybe it was a good thing it took a little while.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All kind. And it's funny because I sit here and I'm not sure I've ever actually shown my wife pictures of these because I could see her looking at them going, "Oh, I could use one for this and one for this," because they're just I can imagine things being stored in them or displayed in them, or like you could. I mean, the possibilities are endless. Like, you know,
Do they hold tea?
No,
Okay,
but they
just
can
making
hold
sure.
a tea bag that's not been used.
There you go.
See?
So actually, somebody suggested for the teacup style ones. I actually only made 2. I have to make another one. Don't have any in my shop right now. But for the tea ones, they're like, you could totally put like little creamers in the bowl part, and then put like the little sugars on the saucer part, and then have that in the middle of a tea service, or if you have people over for coffee or whatever. I was like, yeah, that would be a really cute way of doing it.
That could also be fun as like an April Fool's joke.
Yes, that would be fun.
You know, you put it right there and you expect them to do something that they shouldn't. You never know.
Yep. Yeah.
That's kind of my brain. I'm sorry. I just go there.
So my most popular ones seem to be these ones that I call trinket trays. And they're a little bit shallower. They're not near as tall. Actually, do I have one in arm reach? I do. So they're not as tall, but they're about 1.5 to 2 inches. This one is 1.75 inches tall, and they're
that's really nice.
Yeah, thanks. This is an exclusive to the show that I'm doing this weekend. This print, and I have it on a bunch of different. Whoops! I keep hitting my microphone. Sorry. It keeps. I've used it in a couple different ones. That's a show exclusive for the show that I'm doing. Anyways, but this is like a trinket tray is what I call these, and these fit perfectly. They'll fit a pair of glasses in there, or change, or keys, or things that you empty out your pockets before you go to bed, or when you first walk in the house. And so those seem to be my most popular.
Those are cool. I like that.
Yeah.
The reason I'm looking at that thinking that is really cool is because I have a trinket tray, but it's glass and it's fallen a few times and it's beaten up, and I'm thinking that could fall and be cat attacked, and it's not going to have a sharp edge to hurt me in the morning.
A bunch of people have said, I have a puppy, and I said, well, if the puppy does get into this, it's 100% cotton. It's not really going to do any damage to him.
That's good.
And then another one that I have been doing a fair bit of is coasters.
And that's that same rope technique.
It's the exact same rope technique where it's all zigzagged around. And yeah, they're washable because they're cotton. So
cool.
That's cool. And you had like hot pot holders and pads and stuff that I saw as well.
I have like the microwave bowl cozies that can go in the microwave. I had some insulator cup holders, and I had some jar openers. Those were other things that were at my cellar booth that I have.
And all made with rope. Like
those ones are just fabric.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the rope, the way that you obviously with the stitch that you're using and the way you can form the rope into the vessel, that's just cool to me. Like it's such a novel idea, and you don't see them anywhere. Like it's not like you don't walk into a craft store somewhere or a market and see stuff like this anywhere else. Like it's something that I've never seen before you started making them and started posting them online. So that's pretty cool.
It was a popular craft. I want to say in like the 60s or 70s at one point, but they were all fabric wrapped. People wouldn't show any of the rope.
Okay.
And then it was only a short-lived thing, and then it kind of went away, and now it's kind of coming back up again. So it's a new craft for most people, including me. I had never seen it before. But yeah.
I have 2 things I want to mention. One, Ryan, do you have any of the pieces that, did you say it's your mother-in-law?
My ex-stepmom.
Ex-stepmom. Do you have any of the pieces that she made still? Like, is this something that you look at and have kept, or do you have any experience with these kinds of things?
I think there's a lot more. Yeah, there's more personal stuff into that. So I didn't keep any of the quilts, but she did do great work. Like there was a lot of different variety of what she did. It's what I really appreciated too was just the different patterns she would use on one quilt. So like if I think back to it, I can picture, all these different. The part that always confused me was you get a quilt and all of a sudden there was 7 or 8 different patterns all squared off together. So it was just like each square was a different, completely random pattern, but somehow by the end of it, it all came together and looked amazing. So.
Mm-hmm. different blocks.
Yeah, the block, exactly. It was all the
Yeah.
different blocks that she would use, yeah.
What's that mean?
So the block is the individual unit inside the quilts, like he was talking about, where they were different shapes and they would be all squared off to the same thing. So the block is the individual small section, and then you put multiple blocks together to make a quilt.
Okay.
And that's one way to do it. The one that I have beside me right now actually started with a panel of fabric where it was pre-printed, and then I added just borders to the outside of it.
Okay, so see, I was always more familiar with the block technique than anything else. I didn't see her do a lot of other quilts, so I'm not even too familiar with that. But the block was something that I'm very familiar with, only because that's, I think, exclusively what she did.
Yeah. And now a lot of people will do certain styles each time, but you can see this one.
Okay.
So the
Yep.
middle part, this white piece, is the panel, and then I just added these borders on it, and it's a really simple baby quilt that way.
Nice.
Also, because you know, short attention span, I can do I can do this quickly. But also, I did this at a retreat because quilters do a lot of other things, and retreats are one of them. I finished a quilt and got it sent to the quilter because it's queen size, and then I made this quilt. So it was like, did a busy one, took a lot of work, and then did a much simpler one.
Like a break from doing the hard work.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Just
And
get back to the fun.
I didn't bring any of my rote stuff with me to the quilt retreat this time, so I did that instead.
The second thing I wanted to ask was behind you,
Mhm.
you have some Canadian flags.
Yes.
Or at least one. So there, yeah. I love that. And you're in North Carolina representing. Love
Yep.
that. What is that? Just because you're from Canada and you just remembering it, or do you incorporate that into any of your patterns or anything like that? I'm like Mr. Canada. I absolutely super pro Canada, right? I lived in the States for a while. I lived all over New England and stuff, but you know, this is like super proud Canada guy right here. So when I see a Canadian flag, I'm just like drawn.
Awesome.
Except if they're on people's cars driving down the road with other signs next to them, which are somehow really is disturbing. That becomes a problem for me now. But anyway, sorry.
So the Canada flags, the stuff you see behind me, that's my husband's workspace. If you do a video with him, you won't see that Canada flag because that's where his computer is at. But it is just because we represent Canada. We have a nameplate on the front of our house, and it has maple leafs on it. People know we're Canadian. It's not something we don't talk about or anything. I keep buying Canadian fabric. In fact, I have a whole tote of fabric that is Canadian fabric, and I can't cut into it yet.
Oh, well, that makes sense. Actually, that could be a bit of a mental issue, wouldn't it?
So it's not bad. I mean, it's like moose and checkers and hockey fabric. It's not. I do have maple leaf fabric, but it like the flag fabric, but it's like Canada-based themed stuff. And I have bought Canada patterns, and I have bought stuff to do Canada stuff, and I just can't bring myself to cut into the fabric because it's so pretty, and I don't want to cut it up yet.
That's awesome.
So
because it's a Canadian flag, you didn't want.
No. I've actually made I made a little coin purse because when we travel back to Canada, we end up with a lot of Canadian coins. So in the car, we have my little coin purse with a Canada flag on it. So we put our Canadian money in it for when we leave Canada, and then we can just pull it out when we get back to Canada.
Cool. Good thinking.
Yeah.
That's
anyway,
a lot of
questions. Thanks.
A lot of Canada stuff. That's pretty cool. So now you're making a lot of bowls lately, and you've got a couple of quilts there as well that you've got on the go. Do you do commissions for quilts? Like, do people say, I'd like a quilt that has this on it? Do you do that for people?
Yes and no. So I'm selective on who I take commissions from.
Oh, she's waving back, and I'm waving back.
She was looking up at the time.
I was thinking. I wasn't. Hi.
I thought
So
she was
commission-
waving at me.
Well, both of you, but there's a story there. We had lunch with Debbie in Kingston during a snowstorm, which we'll get back to. But
with my sister's newborn baby. But yes, but she's having another one. I'll be back in Canada for that in August.
congratulations. It's a little further to Kingston now from where I
It's
live.
a little bit further, yeah. Anyways, so commission quilts. I am selective on who I take commission quilts from because they can become work.
Right.
Okay, so if I take a commission, then if they just say have at it, I just want a queen size quilt in blue. That is easy because that's where my brain functions. I like just going off. I keep rewriting patterns and stuff, and I make more work for myself, but I like to have my own touch on things. I very rarely do the same thing twice. If I take a pattern that I've bought, I will often alter it somehow. I'll make it bigger, make it smaller, include an extra border, whatever. So if they let me go at it, it's no problem. I can make a quilt. That's no problem. But it's when they're like, but I want this and I want this and I want this and I want this. And then it starts becoming work. And then I feel like I have a deadline. And so I try not to do commission work. I will take commission work for if someone who's passed away, I will do memory quilts and stuff for them. Especially if they're connected to me. Like they're my friends, not just Joe's sister passed away and I'm like, I don't know who Joe is. So there's some personal connection to me. And good friends, or if I have time. And sometimes I say no to good friends just because I don't have time. So if I said no to you, sorry, but
No, you didn't. You didn't. My problem with a quilt is there's so much work and they're so beautiful, and we have a couple that were given to us. I actually got one for Christmas last year. My mom bought it at a craft thing at the home she lives in, but I'm afraid to put them out because cats and dogs I was just so afraid it would get wrecked.
So if I give quilts, I want my quilts to be used. My quilts that I give are utility quilts. They're pretty and they're great and I love them, but I don't want them sitting in a closet. That's my thought on the quilts I give. Some people have the heritage quilts and stuff that they want to keep special and nice and stuff. That's fine. But for my quilts that I make, I want them to be used.
Yeah.
So I gave my sister a quilt for her wedding and she kept it in the closet and I'm like, you got to put that on your bed. Use it. And so she started using it and she loves it and she has not taken it off her bed since. So I'm very glad for that. The other thing is that I don't usually have to say no to people because when people ask me about commission quilts, I then give them my price list and then they're like, no, I'm sorry. Because quilts are very expensive to make with fabric and then they take a lot of time. And a lot of people don't realize just how much money goes into a quilt.
Yeah.
So that I don't usually have to say no to too many people.
You find that in a lot of industries, especially when people don't understand the work that goes behind something. And I know I can't remember what we talked to somebody one time, and they were talking about their prices and how people often will balk at a price and say, "Oh my God, I didn't realize it was going to be that much." And there was I see it on TikTok. I still see it to this day, and it's always creators, makers that are doing things. And the slogan is, it costs that much because it takes me effing hours.
Yeah.
It really does. I mean, to put that into it, like I think for what you do, a quilt is a labor of love. You love doing it. And to your point, you don't want it to become a job. You want it to still be fun and be a hobby.
Yes.
Which is what I do with my photography. Like I try not to sell my services. I like to do, right? I like to go out and do things and shoot things and not have the pressure of a deadline or something like that. So,
well, that's why I started my I Shoot For Me, right? The exact same thing. The minute it becomes something where you have your deadlines and you have people demanding it to be more specific to their style than your own style, they're not wanting you now. They just want some tool to do their job for them. And it takes the joy out of it. It sucks that whole creativity and spontaneity, for me at least. So my defense for those people was to create the hashtag I Shoot For Me, which applies to anything. You know, if I took up quilt making, it would be I quilt for me. You know, like it would just be my way of reminding people that I am here to do this for my own passion. It's like we do this podcast. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I love that it is selective for you. I love that you're able to make it selective. This isn't where you have to say, oh, I need that X amount of dollars for doing this quilt to survive. You do it because you love it. And again, that's why we started this podcast, to talk to folks like yourself who are doing these things and putting yourself into a position to do what you love to do. I love that. It's not easy to do. And Mark, by the way, I think that was Red Butt Ceramics when we had Sarah and Mike on talking about their ceramic pottery and things like that.
Yeah, there's just so many unique crafters and creators out there. And I love that you've found the quick gratification outlet with the bowls and the trinket baskets and things. That's really cool, because now you can sort of channel what you love doing into the quilts and still put that love that you want to and want to make a quilt and have that quick gratification and make a little coin on the side.
And bonus is the scraps from the fabric can also be used on the bowls, so it all works out.
So you're zero waste. So you're not only are you creating, but you're ecologically friendly as well.
Yeah,
so.
see, there you go.
Love it. Perfect.
How do you wash them? I was going to ask you this earlier. We were talking about, use them, put them to use.
Quilts?
Don't just put them in. Yeah. How do you wash one of those? Because you don't want to ruin the work. How durable
I
is
throw mine in the wash
stitching?
machine. They're pretty good. I machine stitch mine, so it's not handwork. It's machine done. So you just have more stitches per inch that way. And I throw them in the machine. I do a cold wash and a low on dry. That's how I usually wash them.
Cool.
And I sometimes will wash them when I first put them in the wash. The very first wash, I'll put them in on a warm cycle, because then it shrinks everything, and then it gets that nice crinkly look from the quilts. I love that crinkly look when it first gets washed.
Cool.
Perfect.
But usually my recommendation is just wash on low, wash on cold, dry on low. Just that easy.
Cool,
Use regular laundry detergent.
Yeah. I thought they'd be a lot more high maintenance than that.
Not if you're using them to use them. If you want to preserve a heritage quilt, then there's a whole different method of washing them. But
fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't. You just put it in a glass case and hope for the best.
I think Chris has some quilts that her grandmother made, and I can hear my mother-in-law like, "Don't let the dog lie on that," So it doesn't happen. But the one that my mom gave us for Christmas, when we finished the second guest room in the house, it's going to match the room, because we're doing that room with green accents, and the quilt is in greens. It's beautiful, beautiful work. So it's going to go on the bed in the second room. So when you and Dave come up to Thunder Bay to visit, we'll.
All right. Hey, you never know. Dave's planning some kind of trip through somewhere, I don't know, for this summer, so he might be calling.
There you go. Awesome. As long as it doesn't encompass August the 8th, because I'll be down there at that point.
Nope, August 8th we will be here.
Perfect.
In North Carolina.
Excellent. So let me think. We covered quilting, we covered bowls, we covered masks.
Yep.
And masks covered us, and we still do. I'm like Brian, I wore a mask all day today at work.
Yep.
So now you're also a photographer.
I'm also a photographer. That is what I say is my secondary hobby. I do my other ones first. Photography is kind of a bonus, I guess. It's something I have fun with, but I do not put the time or energy into getting better at it. So what I know is what I know, and that's it. I do very minimal processing. I take my photos. If they're not right from the camera, then they're just not right. I don't worry about. Whereas my husband is a Photoshop guru, so I have taken things to him and said, "Can you do this to this photo for me?" But for the most part, I'm very minimal on my photography. I just like to take the pretty pictures.
Yeah.
Well, you have to now take the record. Sorry to cut you off there, Mark, but Debbie has now taken the record for the longest we've been able to get through an episode with somebody into photography without photography coming up. So congratulations. 49 minutes, 48 seconds.
I plan to loop it into the conversation, because also in addition to photography, Debbie is one of the hosts of the Photography Scavenger Hunt.
Yes.
Okay.
That is going on right now, and I have to say, you guys have completely stuck me with the list. I'm like,
well, I have to say I have not touched the list at all yet, so it's all right.
Now, Now, I know we can't talk about the list other than to say normally with the list, and Brian, we joked about it last week. I grab the list and I'm like, okay, this is the word. And I start thinking, okay, what's outside the box? With this list, there's no
There's
box. No box. Everything is outside the box. It's like you think of a word and it's like it's blown up everywhere. So like, I don't know what to do. But anyways, I'm sure I'll think of something coming up. But,
Oh, you got some time.
So how do you with that? Obviously, taking pictures, photography, scavenger hunt as well. And I know that your full-time job is a mom, right?
Yes.
Because you've got the two young ones that are they're a lot of fun, and everybody's. I'm not saying this because Debbie's sitting here. I've had meals with Debbie's family as well, and with her young ones, and they're very, very well behaved. So I know you guys have put a lot of work into your family and making sure that they're getting that attention they need and deserve. But how do you fit all of that into including the hosting the scavenger hunt?
So I do the photography hunt. I am the president of my quilt guild. I was a deacon at my church, but I'm not right now. And like all these things, I don't fit them all in the day. Luckily, they can take place on separate days. No, I just do it. I don't know how I do it. I just do it.
Yeah.
Calendar entries.
Fair enough. It's like you messaged me last night. You said we're still on. My calendar just reminded me. I'm like, that's good because mine doesn't.
Yeah, mine notifies me the day before anything happens. So
it gives you 24 hours to figure out how you're going to get there. Perfect.
Yeah. Well, and my brain doesn't work. If I don't write it in my calendar, then it doesn't exist. So I have to put it in my calendar, and that way I can see if I'm double booking things. I very rarely double book things. I have, but it's rare because if it's in my calendar.
Handwritten calendar or digital?
I prefer the handwritten, but with way life goes, most of the time I find out about things when I'm not near my paper calendar. So I've gone to Google Calendars because I can access it anywhere with my phone.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's what I do as well. I just need to figure out the alerts thing on my.
The fact that it alerts you is really handy, so that way I can be okay, like an hour a day before, an hour before, 15 minutes before. Yeah.
Yep.
I like to live dangerously, and I put it 15 minutes before. I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be 400 kilometers from here in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Most of my scheduled stuff is usually a year in advance, so I print out one of those off the internet, just like the 1 month with all the days, and I do one for each, and I just staple it, and that's what I use all year. Just write all my stuff down. You got to find what works for you, right? I have a question for you. You do a lot of things, and I've noticed there's a theme. And that theme is like you help encourage people to quilt. You help encourage people for photography.
Yeah.
You encourage people by being a part of the scavenger hunt. Now, we haven't really talked about what the scavenger hunt is, but I'm going to quickly give the listeners an idea. Essentially, there's a list that gets sent out to all these photographers. The photographers look at the words on the list and create images representing the word. And then at the end of it, these photos are submitted, and you and the other judges, I guess, will pick the top photos for each category.
I don't judge it.
Oh, okay.
Not at all. We have other people who judge it, but it's not us. We just facilitate the photos getting from the scavengers to the judges and then back again and figure out all the numbering and who wins and all that. But yeah. Sorry.
Well, that's important too, because I've run challenges and contests before, and to keep track of all that information, having somebody help out with that is invaluable. So
we have an awesome Elizabeth who does a lot of that paperwork behind the scenes stuff.
An awesome Elizabeth. So is that something you can pick up at like a store? You know, it's like a pocket Elizabeth. Or
it would be nice. It would be very nice if we could. Yeah.
We should all need a pocket Elizabeth.
Yes.
Reasonably church is a lot of fun, and she's bailed me out a couple of times because she's also a computer guru. So,
well, the question comes to what actually inspired you to be this helper of people? I know you're a maker of things, humans included, but obviously you're a helper of people, and where did that come from?
I don't know. We'll blame Mom on that one.
Everybody blames Mom for everything. Usually I blame Mom for the bad stuff, but
Mom told me back when I was in high school that if I was ever in a situation that I didn't want to be in, that I could blame her, and I'm just keep blaming her from then on. That I needed to go home or whatever, right, to get out of the situation. So I don't know. I don't know why. I just do it. I don't know.
It's just who you are.
It's just who I am.
Lived in a giving environment.
I can't help it. It's just in my nature to do.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you're doing it, because everything from the photos, which obviously is, I know for a fact has helped Mark in many ways, probably more ways than he can even know. Other than that, but with, you know, being a full-time mom, raising your children is such an important thing. Being able to be that person for the community is essential. Communities need people like that. So I thank you for doing it, even though I may not quilt. I think it's great. And I appreciate when anybody can step up and do something with just their time, you know, with their time, just to be able to help somebody else do something better. So I really appreciate that. That's awesome.
And there's really no more personal thing that you can give somebody other than your time. And for that, we thank you very much for being on this evening. It's
yes,
you know, for you, everything you do, for you to give us an hour of your time this evening. That's just awesome.
Oh, you're welcome. I have time. I not work when I first moved here. I had a visa that I was not allowed to work on.
Yeah.
So I had time. So that's why I started doing things to be part of the community.
That's awesome.
Perfect. We're coming up to the top of the hour here, so we have 3 questions. Now, one of them you already know because it was in the document that we sent you. If I can just open it here.
Yeah, but I filled that out like a month ago.
Spoiled it.
So it was the question. So that was there was a weekly challenge for the listeners and the viewers. Do you remember what that was?
I don't know. Do something different. Is that what I said?
No, just do something different.
Try something new.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's exactly what you said. You said, take the jump and try new things. I bought a kit and I tried it and I loved it. So
yes.
I did.
They said hi.
Drink delivery. That's smart.
I know. I sent him a message. I'm like, I'm thirsty.
Oh, nice.
I know. Kitty dropped one off for me. Mine's empty.
It'll take a little while to get there.
But, yeah,
Was that right?
Might be...
Oh, I was just saying I could use a top up over here myself. Yeah.
I just got water. You guys make me feel jealous.
This is water. That's sparkling water.
Okay. All right, cool.
It's
water mixed with barley and some other stuff.
Right,
yeah, so that was Debbie's challenge, was to try something new. Or as I always like to say, be brave enough to suck at something new.
Oh, yeah. That's definitely a good idea. It's always good to suck at something. Because then you can find out what you're good at.
Yep.
Exactly.
Actually, real quick, I had a question I wanted to ask about that. Has there ever been anything that you've tried to do and I don't want to say gave up on, but underestimated just how big of a job it was going to be, how big of a task, and you said, I can't follow through this? Because I think that's big for our listeners to know as well, that as much as we get passionate about certain things, there's a lot of times where we might take something on and there's no shame in saying, you know what, I'm not going to be able to complete this. You know, I'm going to focus more on what I can do and what I'm able to do. It's, you know, one of those, your eyes were bigger than your stomach kind of thing.
Well, I'm looking around, okay? I'm looking around to see what I have not finished in here. I'm sure there is. I see a couple things that I've only made 2 of. Hold on.
2 of a kind.
2 of a kind. Just the 2. Oh, I couldn't sing that. I don't think we have the copyright lyrics.
Oh, yes, be careful.
So I like doing this, but I have not done many of them, and I just because they take a lot of work. So I made a couple of these girls. So this for listeners, this is a stuffed doll, and she's very, I don't know, she's pretty, and she's got legs, and she's crossed her legs, and they're very dancer-like. I'm trying to figure out how to say this is for audio, but she's got movable arms and stuff, and I made 2 of these. My other one had red hair, and I called her Roxanne, and she sits on my mantle upstairs. But she's only the second one I made. I haven't even finished her face.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, I'm on a cell phone, so it's hard for me to really see. But that thing doesn't have a face, right? Like, I'm not losing my mind here.
No, she does not have a face. She has a shaped face. There we go. She has a shaped face with a nose and a chin. But I have not even drawn on her face. So, but she is dressed. She's got a little pretty skirt and top on. And I
Good,
tried
because
to
otherwise this would be an explicit rated show. And
well, I tried to make her boobs, but it didn't really work. I couldn't figure that part out. The other thing that I have done more of, but I have stopped doing it, is making stuffed animals. I make simple stuffed animals, which I don't have an example of, but this is a moose that I was trying to make. So
see, the moose I would want.
There you go.
I mean,
Yeah,
so
the doll
cute.
without a face, not as much.
But so going from where I take patterns and I make them my own, this was actually a mouse pattern to start
Okay.
with.
Mouse,
And,
moose, that works.
And then so I changed up the face. I made a couple different ones trying to get the right shaped face that would work, that would look moosey. And then I tried to figure out the paddles, I guess. And there's like a wooden dowel in them to make them stand up so they wouldn't fall over and stuff. So this moose is undressed, but that's okay because it's a moose. But also, yeah, it's kind of got the seated. It can sit, and it's got the movable arms.
No, does the moose have?
No, these guys do not have names because they're not done yet.
Right.
So they haven't told me what their names are yet because they're not done. And they just sit on my shelf over there judging me.
Don't get me wrong, the doll looks incredible, but the lack of a face is freaking me out.
Yeah. Which is why she sits there and judges me, because she doesn't have a face. And can you feel the judgment coming there?
Yes,
I feel something. It feels more evil than judgment.
Well, I created her. She's fine with me, so.
There you go. Perfect.
So I'm sure there's other things that I have started that I have said, forget this. I decorated wreaths for a while, but it's more just phases for me. It's not that I've said, oh, I can't do this or I don't want to do this anymore. It's more like they phased in and they phased out. I think that's more what mine is. And that's fine. I end up with a lot of leftover crafting things because of that, but it's fine. I can always pass them on to somebody else if I need to.
Yeah.
Sure. Awesome. Brian, did you have any other questions?
No, so far so good. Yeah.
I apologize. I missed that and went straight into our last questions there. So
no, that's
awesome. All right. So the other two questions that we have are obviously in photography. There's always the
he's got another question.
I think it's funny that at the beginning of the three questions you said there's one that you already know. When we've had 2 seasons of shows, we've asked the same 3 questions on every episode. So we're still waiting for someone to say, I know the other 2. Well, I've watched your whole show. But
yes,
anyway,
sorry, I haven't done that. I'm sorry.
Not many people have. It's all good.
We haven't got one of the 6 people that watches us regular on as a guest. So if we get one of those 6 people on, then we'll see.
Sorry.
It's Aurora's mom, Brian's mom.
My mom hasn't watched it. What are you talking about? You know how much trouble I'd be in with the things I've said about mom?
I've created 6 different accounts. That's all that's going on right now, guys. We all know this.
All right, awesome. So, and we always talk about in the photography world, we talk about like what's in your bag, but it's sort of obviously that's not what we're doing here. But it's what is the tool of the trade? What is the one tool, whether it be physical or not, that you need? Oh, a fabric cutter.
So this is called a rotary cutter. So this, of course, goes with rulers and a self-healing mat. So it's kind of like a package deal. But this makes life so much easier because you can take the ruler and you can go shoop up the fabric and make a straight line, and you can cut a lot of fabric very quickly. So that is my first thing when someone says they want a quilt. I say we need to get you a ruler, a rotary cutter, and a mat.
Perfect.
So that's the first thing.
Self-healing mat, you said. So when I cut myself with the rotary cutter, it helps.
Oh no!
So
it doesn't work that way. The mat heals itself. The rotary cutter will destroy you. People have chopped off big chunks of their fingers with the rotary cutters because they are super, super sharp.
I make faceless dolls out of the fabric with the blood on.
Yes. So yes, that is also the number one rule when I'm teaching someone how to quilt is that after you pull open the blade, and then as soon as you're done, you push the blade and you cover it back up. immediately before you put it down to touch the fabric and move it. You close it before you put it down.
Assuming that's a razor blade of types,
Yes.
or very, very sharp. Yes.
So think about, I guess, carpet installers, and they have their big metal blades.
Yeah.
That's similar to this.
Okay.
So yes, it is a very, very sharp razor blade. I use my dull ones to cut paper.
Might have to get one just for a pizza cutter.
They do have some big ones. They have the one that this one I was showing is a 45 millimeter one. They have little ones, and then they have like a 60 millimeter one.
Would that be to go through more layers of fabric?
Yes, and different types of fabric. Thicker fabric and stuff. You would need a, and then if you're doing little work, then you use the little one because you're usually trying to be precise. So
very good. That looks like a really handy tool.
Super handy. The other thing that I love, which is not really a tool, is for the people who are watching, I can show you. If I unplug everything, on the underneath my sewing machine, I have this. Someone made it for me with my Quilt Guild. It was a Christmas present. But it is a thing that sits underneath my sewing machine, and it hangs down off the table, and it has all these little pockets in it. And that's where I keep my pens, my pencils, my little embroidery scissors, my rulers, the remote for my lights, this is also something you need when you're quilting, is a seam ripper. And this is I have a wooden one. I got a very fancy one. But it has all my little doodads like right there and handy.
Perfect.
So
right there.
Yeah, I love having that. And that comes with me to every retreat.
Amazing. So you got some great tools there, and then all set yourself up. And of course, if you're teaching me how to quilt, there's a box of Band-Aids for when I get that rotary.
Yeah, there's actually Band-Aids in that pouch thing too.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You never know.
Alrighty, and our last question is, what's your jam? What song is it that you can listen to over and over again on repeat that just keeps you motivated, keeps you going, and just picks you up if you're down?
Oh, so I'm really bad with songs, names, titles, matching those things up. Generally it's a 90s mix of music that I listen to. But the song that is my earworm that will get me a lot is it Goethe? Somebody I used.
Yeah.
Somebody I used to love.
Yeah.
Someone I used to know. Yeah. That song gets in my brain, and I have to listen to it. And when I start listening to it, I love to watch the video for it, and I will have that. I can repeat that a number of times before I move on.
That's actually funny, because I find as soon as you mentioned the video, the first image I have is like, that is basically a quilt. You know, it's different patterns, different designs. Yeah. That's kind of a really interesting tie in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way, but yeah, that is true. It does have that mix of patterns in there. I do love mixing patterns. I got in the car the other day, and I had striped shorts on and a polka dot shirt. And I turned to Dave and I said, "Well, I guess I'm mixing patterns today."
That's a good catch, Ryan. That's pretty observant. That's
I'm not sure I've ever actually seen the video. I've heard the song.
It's fun. It's body painting, so it's pretty cool.
Okay.
Right on.
Excellent. Well, awesome. This has been a whole lot of fun. I'm glad you agreed to come on, Debbie. I appreciate you being here.
It's definitely something we haven't talked about before. I mean, we had Daniel on, who does leather work, which was another great conversation that actually aired this morning. And this is another twist to that creative side where I haven't spoken to somebody who does quilting. It's really cool that Ryan knows a little bit about it. I was so impressed, Ryan, when you stepped up and said, "Oh, I know about this stuff." I was like, "Right on, dude! I have no clue."
I'm no expert by a long shot, but
you know more than me. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Debbie, for taking the time to be with us.
You're welcome.
Thank you for being here. For everybody listening, if you like what you hear, please share. Please like, subscribe. Tell your friends about us. If you don't like us, just keep it to yourself. And I think what we'll do is Debbie, we'll put the link to your Facebook store below, if that's okay.
Okay. Yep.
To your Debbie DeBaermaeker, maker of things, and the twist on the word maker, which is really cool. And that's it. So
smash that like button. I think that's what the YouTubers say now, Mark. I don't know. I think it's smashing or punching it. Gotta be aggressive with the YouTube like button, apparently.
You were like, "Who is this guy? What have you done with Mark?"
So that's why we're not getting likes, because we're not being Peter McKinnon at the end of every episode.
All right, everyone. It's been a great conversation with Debbie DeBaermaeker, maker of things, and I hope you have a great week. Take care now.
Take care, everyone.